we continue with our trigonometry. This is video 2 of the reduction formulae. Our first sum tells us that if 7 sine x plus 3 is equal to 0 and cos is greater than 0, calculate the following. For most learners or students, this will look very intense. Most people will prefer to skip this and move to the next sum, but I ask you to brace yourself and just be careful in your approach to this. The first thing, when we speak of sine, cos or tan, we want to see it in a ratio form. We know when we work with sine, it is a y value over a r value. Currently, it is not written in that form. So, subtract 3 here, subtract 3 here, divide by 7, and I find myself with sine of x is equal to negative 3 over 7. My next step would be to ask myself, in which quadrant is sine of x negative? So that leaves me with the second and the fourth quadrant. Now I know. In my picture, I will either be in the third quadrant or the fourth quadrant. Another clue that they've given me here, they said cos is greater than 0. What does greater than 0 mean? Greater than 0 means positive. So that is the function is greater than 0 is the function is positive. Where is cos positive? Cos is positive in the first and the fourth quadrant. Right? Now, this is in the first and the fourth. That's in the third and the fourth. The one that is common, that satisfies both those ratios that is given. Now I go ahead and I draw my picture in the fourth quadrant. So I draw my axis, and remember we had to draw a butterfly. So the picture should always be from the origin, and then I have my 1/4 wing of the butterfly, and I make a 90-degree angle over there. Now our sketch is drawn in the fourth quadrant. Now we need to put in our values. Firstly, sine is a y value over r value. So what happens now? We've got the right angle triangle, we've got the y value, we've got the r value, we want the x value. So here we will use then Pythagoras. We put the values on the picture to make it easier for ourselves to identify what we have. So this distance here is r, which is 7. The y value is negative 3. So that is this distance here. We still need that distance over there. Pythagoras tells us that the square on the hypotenuse minus the square on one of the adjacent sides will give us the square on the other adjacent side. So we say 7 squared, which is my r squared, and I subtract from there y squared. Now, this answer, because I'm working with the Cartesian plane, could possibly be positive or negative. So, 7 squared minus 3 minus 3 squared. Very important to keep the sign, don't throw it away. Is equal to the square root of 49 minus 9 gives us the square root of 40, and this can be simplified as 4 multiplied by 10. Now that I have this information, I can say this is plus or minus the square root of 2 square root of 10 And I need to decide positive or negative. X on the right hand side of my y-axis is positive. So hence I choose the positive value because it's the fourth quadrant and X is positive in the fourth quadrant. So the length of the side will be positive 2 square root of 10. So now my picture is complete and I can do my calculations. Whatever they're going to ask me now, I can calculate using this information. So the very first question they ask me to calculate here is tan of x minus 180 degrees. If I look at this whole angle is the size of x. I'm going to subtract 180 degrees. I'm going to go to the second quadrant, which means tan of x will then be negative. Tan is a y value over x value, and my y value is negative 3. And my x value is 2 square root of 10. So my answer is negative 3 over 2 square root of 10. Our next sum they ask us, calculate 4 cos of x plus tan of x. Firstly, cos is an x value over r value. My x value I calculated as 2 square root of 10. My r I know is 7. Then tan of x is my y value over my x value, which gives me negative 3 over square root of 10. Plus times a minus is a minus. Okay? And 4 multiplied by 2 is 8 square root of 10 over 7. Now I get the lowest common denominator, which is 7 multiplied by 2 square root of 10. So that is 14 square root of 10. So 7 goes in there. 2 square root of 10 needs to be multiplied with 8 square root of 10. 2 square root of 10 multiplied with 8 square root of 10. Sign is minus. 2 square root of 10 goes in there. So 7 must still be multiplied by 3. Now I simplify. So this is 160 minus 21 over 14 square root of 10. So that's 139 over 14 square root of 10. Now I don't know if you can remember how to rationalize the denominator. They can ask you to give your answer with a rational denominator. That means, for those who can't remember, I will have to multiply with square root of 10 over square root of 10. So square root of 10 multiplied with square root of 10 will give me 10 multiplied by 14 is 140 and 139 square root of 10 over 140. I quickly take you through a few examples of rationalizing the denominator, and your calculator always gives your answer with a rational denominator. So if I have 1 over square root of 2, I multiply with square root of 2 over square root of 2. 1 multiplied with square root of 2 is square root of 2. And square root of 2 times square root of 2 is square root of 2 squared. So that will give me an answer of 2. If I have 3 over 4 square root of 2, multiply that, because I want to rationalize this part. So I still need to multiply with another square root of 2 times square root over square root of 2. So 3 square root of 2 on top. Square root of 2 multiplied by square root of 2 is 2. 2 multiplied by 4 is equal to 8. One more example. Let's say we have 2 over 3 square root of 5. I want to rationalize the denominator. So I multiply with square root of 5 over square root of 5. That will give me 5 multiplied by 3 is 15. And square root of 2 multiplied by square root of 10. So this is the square root of 2 times 5. That gives me the square root of 10. a last example. We've got 4 over 3 minus square root of 2. I will have to rationalize this by looking at the option of the difference of squares. If I multiply this by 3 plus square root of 2, I will have the difference of squares. So I multiply both the denominator and the numerator with 4 square root 3 plus square root of 2. And my answer is equal to 4 multiplied by 3 and 4 multiplied by square root of 2 over 3 multiplied by 3 is 9, and square root of 2 multiplied by square root of 2 is negative 2. 9 minus 2 is 7, and then I see that I have a rational denominator. Remember this for future use and when you have to rationalize the denominator. Just remember, for a surd form, to get rid of the surd form, you multiply with the surd form at the bottom. In order to get rid of when there's a 2 term, you will have to use the difference of squares. And remember, it's the same numbers. One must be a plus and one must be a minus. But whatever you multiply with must always be 1. So 3 plus square root of 2 as a singular unit, if you take out 1 as the common factor, must be multiplied also at the bottom. 3 plus square root of 2. The same on top as what it is at the bottom. That is how to rationalize the denominator. One thing to remember is that these sums are always answered from your sketch. You did not draw that sketch for nothing. You will have to use this sketch to answer your questions. Here we have cos 2x is equal to cos. We can write it in different forms. We can write it as cos of x plus x, or we can say it's cos square x minus sine square x, or we can say it's 2 cos square x minus 1, or we can say that is equal to 1 minus 2 sine x squared. We can choose any one of the 4. The one I chose would be this one, because I have calculated, I know what sine of x is, I know what cos of x is. So, reading from the sketch, square root of 40 over 7 squared, and then sine would be negative 3 over 7 squared. So that means it's 40 over 49 minus 9 over 49. Sometimes learners just make the mistake where they see the 9 and 49 and they go and decide to add it up to get an answer of 1. So minus sign, 40 minus 9 is 31. So my answer is 31 over 49. Trust you've enjoyed these examples. I know completing the square can be a little bit over the top, but it's a good practice that we had to have that one as well. I see you in the next video.